We've got another insight this week into the evil of Vladimir Putin, into the murderous tyranny he's imposed on Russia and has for 4 years tried to also impose by war on Ukraine. The security services of Britain, France, Germany, Sweden and the Netherlands have now concluded that Putin's assassins killed Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny 2 years ago in a remote Siberian prison camp. They'd tried before to poison Navalny with Novichok nerve agent, but German doctors just managed to save him. Navalny then bravely returned to Moscow, where he was immediately arrested, and Russia claimed he then died in prison of high blood pressure. But these 5 European intelligence services say body samples show he actually died from the toxin from the skin of the Ecuadorian dart frog, obviously not found in Russia.
Only the Russian regime had the motive, the means and the opportunity to administer this lethal poison while he was in prison in Russia. They wanted to silence him because he was a critic of their regime, and that's why we have exposed this barbaric Kremlin plot to do so and made sure that we have done so with evidence as well.
So every time you see some leader shake the hand of Vladimir Putin, know that they shake the bloody hand of a murderer. But about that war in Ukraine, joining me is Bolt Report regular General Jack Keane, a former Vice Chief of Staff of the United States Army and a 4-star general. He's now chairman of the Institute for the Study of War and a confidant of President Trump. General Keane, it's always great to see you. Next Tuesday is going to be 4 years since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. It seemed then, as you know, that the war would be over in a week. Russia would have its victory parade. 4 years later, what has Russia achieved?
Not very much. Certainly nothing in comparison to what their objectives were. They certainly they were targeting literally on Kyiv and topple that government and put in a stooge government was what their objective. And you're absolutely right. Their generals told them it would just take a few weeks to do that. The Ukrainian people would likely surrender almost when the Russian troops approached positions. And quite the contrary here, the Ukrainians have been absolutely steadfast. Their people have supported them. And here they are, 4 years into this war, and Russia is largely stalemated in terms of its offensive operation. I mean, they have a false narrative that they're overrunning the Ukraine positions. They have 20% of the territory. When they first started the invasion in the first several weeks, they actually had something close to 24, 25. And Ukraine took back some gains that they had made. And by and large, for the remaining years, the only increase in the last 2.5 years by Russia has been a 1% increase in territory. And what is absolutely so frustrating here, we have been in negotiations with the Russians now for a full year with the Trump administration, and Zelensky has made all sorts of concessions. He wanted to go to immediate ceasefire with no conditions, and Russia said no. He's been willing to make compromises on the land, and certainly some compromises even dealing with security guarantees. And Russia, by and large, has not made a single concession that I'm aware of coming from Mr. Putin. His emissaries, in talking to our negotiators, they talk friendly, they talk nice, they make promises, but promises are not kept. And here we are, 13 months of negotiations, and we really don't have anything to show for it.
Donald Trump, he's sending a second aircraft carrier to Iran, the world's biggest, the most advanced aircraft carrier. At the same time, the US and Iranian negotiators, as you know, General, they're in Switzerland right now, supposedly working on an agreement, a sort of peace deal, an agreement on Iran's nuclear weapons program. Here is President Trump about the aircraft carrier.
Second aircraft carrier that you decided to send. Yeah. Talk about why you made that choice.
Well, in case we don't make a deal, we'll need it. If we don't have a deal, we'll need it. If we have a deal, we could cut it short. It'll be leaving.
To me, General, Iran is not going to give up its nuclear weapons. There will not be any real sustainable peace deal. Is the US actually just buying time for all its forces to be in place for a strike?
I do think President Trump, in earnest, is trying to make a nuclear deal. It is a pattern of behavior that he has displayed. He tried to do this prior to the 12-day war. He gave Iran 60 days to make a deal. On the 61st day, Israel attacked Iran, and obviously the United States destroyed their nuclear enterprise as it existed at the time and brought the war to termination. And then in Venezuela, he offered many times, I think 3 or 4, Maduro an exit out of there, an airplane in immunity from prosecution, a reasonable country of his choice. And he refused all of those overtures. And we saw what happened. We conducted a military operation to indeed capture him and bring him to justice. I believe the path that we're really on here, I agree with you, I don't see Iran making a deal. After all, President Trump, I think, knows what a good deal is. He's the one that terminated the U.S. participation in the nuclear deal that Obama put together in 2015. And in 2018, Trump rejected that and pulled out of it. And the basic reason is because in 15 years, in other words, in 2030, Iran had no restrictions on it in the development of nuclear weapons, regardless of the numbers of weapons, which was an absurdity in of itself, because the purpose of the deal was to prohibit the manufacture of nuclear weapons. So here we are again. And listen, when we're talking about this nuclear, let's put some facts on the ground. Iran doesn't have a nuclear program right now, or a nuclear enterprise. It has been destroyed. They will have to recover it. And we're talking about something in the future, not something that's now. And believe me, I think we know where they fully intend to begin that recovery. And once that starts, it's likely that Israel would take it down pretty quickly. If they needed help, we would participate in it. And also, in the deal, if we're not talking about ballistic missiles, which is Iran's only conventional capability of any consequence, huge amount of medium-range ballistic missiles, rockets, short-range, and certainly probably hundreds, if not thousands, of drones. If the ballistic missiles aren't on the table, then we should pull out of the negotiations and just literally walk away. I really think the preferred option and the most likely option is the combined Israel and United States attack to clearly do a number of things. One, to set the conditions for regime collapse, leadership targets, the entire infrastructure that sustains this regime. The IRGC, the police force itself, the Basel militia, the defense industrial base, and yes, simultaneously take down air defense systems and the ballistic medium-range missiles, drones, and rockets. A comprehensive attack that the regime will not be able to recover from, and they will be on a pathway for its collapse. I think that is the preferred option, and as I indicated, I believe that's the one we will likely execute.
General Keane, thank you so much indeed for your insights. Really appreciated.
Yeah, great talking, Andrew, as always.